This preventable virus has reached pandemic proportions. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be learning more about the evolution of the acceptance of AIDS.
It petrifies me because girls be hanging out with them. And one night they can be in the club having fun with their gay friend and give them a little kiss and go home with that AIDS on their lips. Get home with their husband, and like 5 years later, Mr. Johnson, you have AIDS. He goes, AIDS? But I'm not a homosexual. Sure, you're not a homosexual.
AIDS first began to spread through humans in the 1950s, and ignorance led to forced quarantines of all people suffering from it. The disease worsened slowly over the next decades until it finally exploded in the 1980s. At that point, the disease mainly affected the gay community and was thought to be an extreme strain of pneumonia. It wasn't until June 1981 that a group of doctors in San Francisco recognized the disease cluster that was eventually characterized as AIDS. That year, there were 121 confirmed deaths due to the illness. The next year, it spread further through the American homosexual community. It was then temporarily named GRID, or Gay-Related Immune Deficiency.
The lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
However, by August 1982, roughly half of sufferers were not homosexual, and so the disease was renamed the Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, or AIDS. One other group that was high risk for AIDS were hemophiliacs, due to their need for blood transfusions. In December 1984, a young American hemophiliac named Ryan White was diagnosed with the disease. He was subsequently expelled from school because of his illness, despite the fact that his doctors said he posed no risk to other students. The ensuing lawsuit drew international attention, with celebrities like Michael Jackson and Elton John befriending the boy and helping to raise money for the disease. White was the first case to dispel the idea that AIDS targeted only gay men, and he changed perceptions of the disease immensely in the United States. He died in 1990 at the age of 18. American actor Rock Hudson was the next person to give a face to the disease. The leading man hid his AIDS diagnosis from the public until a few months before he died in 1985 at the age of 59. Following his death, funding for AIDS research soared from the general public and the American government. As media coverage of AIDS increased, so did fear about the disease. In 1987, a swimming pool in a small town in West Virginia was closed after an AIDS-infected man swam in it. Following the incident, The Oprah Winfrey Show featured an hour-long episode dedicated to discussing AIDS and homosexuality with the community.
I think God has given him the AIDS for a special reason.
I wouldn't want him to be around my family. Shouldn't be around my family.
Put him on a reservation, like they did the Indians.
In 1988, the first World AIDS Day was held on December 1st, and the event brought the illness into the mainstream even further. On November 7, 1991, basketball star Magic Johnson shocked the world when he announced he had tested positive for HIV and was retiring immediately to battle the disease. Johnson's announcement finally discredited the homosexual myth about AIDS for the American public and proved that the disease could affect anyone. He came out of retirement years later to prove it was safe to play on the same court as someone infected with HIV. It was just weeks after Johnson's announcement that Queen frontman Freddie Mercury revealed he was suffering from AIDS, and he died a day later at the age of 45. 1993 saw the release of 3 pieces of work that drew public attention to the AIDS crisis. The Pulitzer Prize-winning play Angels in America was completed, Tom Hanks' performance in Philadelphia as a gay lawyer who has been dismissed from his job due to his AIDS diagnosis was praised, and HBO released its film adaptation of the acclaimed nonfiction book And the Band Played On. Originally published in 1987, the book chronicled the spread of HIV and AIDS and its social impact on the United States.
Is there a name yet for this disease?
The gay press calls it gay pneumonia or gay cancer, and straight press doesn't mention it at all.
In 1996, the popular rock musical Rent debuted and followed a group of young New York artists against the backdrop of the AIDS epidemic. In the 90s, even more celebrities challenged perceptions of AIDS by admitting their infection, including tennis great Arthur Ashe, rapper Eazy-E, and Olympic diving champion Greg Louganis. By 1995, AIDS became the #1 killer of people aged 25 to 44 in America. And by 1997, it was estimated that 30 million people around the world were living with AIDS. 10 years later, the worldwide death count from AIDS had reached 25 million. As we inch closer to a cure, social acceptance of the disease has definitely grown in the years since its discovery, thanks to the contributions and sacrifices of a few.
And we must reaffirm our own commitment to confront and defeat this disease once and for all.